Great. Thanks a lot for everyone to join in this great webinar. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who could make their presence in this amazing webinar. Hope you all are having a great day. Today, we have an opportunity to engage in a thought-provoking discussion. I, on behalf of AI Core Spot, welcome all our esteemed guest speakers, the moderator, and all the pretty faces that make up our lovely audience. Let me initiate with a humble introduction of myself and the company. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at AI Core Spot, and I bring with me an experience of around a couple of decades in consulting firms dealing in and around the emerging technologies. My colleagues Arvind and Naveen will be assisting me in keeping today's event lively. Also, they will be stepping in to resolve technical glitches, if any. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to them for their hard work and dedication in making this event a great success. This webinar is intended to deliver the new age technological advancements in the current industry with a seamless experience. Speaking about our company, AI Core Spot, we started a couple of years back, supported by knowledge and innovation partner InfoVision and technology partner Digit7. AI Core Spot aims to function as a comprehensive knowledge hub, offering valuable information and perspectives on a wide range of cutting-edge technologies around Industry 4.0, which includes AI, ML, deep learning, robotics, IoT, edge computing, analytics, 5G, drone, edge AI, digital twin, and AR/VR cloud, with the objective of offering an in-depth exploration of all sectors that involve technology. We introduce a different theme every month, and we have been progressively gaining momentum. Our goal is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals with similar interests like you can contribute to mutual growth and success. We prioritize industry-backed webinars and hybrid events, ensuring that our knowledge base is built on credible data provided by esteemed industry leaders, subject matter experts, thought leaders, and our trusted partners. Further, we nurture the content through digital content, videos, podcasts, blogs, and newsletters to shed light on the ever-evolving industry. So join us today for a one-of-a-kind webinar focused on digital transformation in telecom, connecting the future. We'll cover a range of topics in this, including elements for digital transformation success in the telecom industry, reasons for lagging and challenges, how to overcome them, win-win proposition, and so on. Our expert panel will provide valuable insights and engage in a thought-provoking discussion that you might not want to miss. And just to let you know, there are lots more in store for the next months with a focus on different technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, AR/VR, digital twins, metaverse, quantum computing, and so on. So may I take this opportunity to further request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. We will be delighted also if you could show your love for us via likes and shares on our social media handles. It will keep you all updated on everything that what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. Now, before we get started with the discussion, here are a few pocket-sized highlights to set up the tone for the intriguing learning and networking day. We would like to introduce our community partners for today. It includes some great companies, Orange Telecom, Iridium, Telit, and Transaction Network Services who came together to make this webinar a success. We also want to give a big shout out to all our attendees who took the time to register and join us today. We know you have a lot on your plate, but it means to us that you are here to achieve your objectives and connect with us ultimately. Our goal as a platform is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you walk away with even just a few innovative ideas or connections, we'll consider it as a job well done. So now let's begin the show. Let me hand over the stage to Ashish, who is the Chief Business Officer handling telecom, media, and technology at InfoVision. He's also the moderator for this panel discussion. Joining him today are four great leaders. Let me introduce them to you. First leader is Matt, who is the Chief Strategy Officer and Partner at Orange Telecom. Then we have second leader, who is Manjula, Chief Information Officer at Iridium. Our third leader is Ricardo, who is Senior Vice President, IoT Platforms Business Unit at Telit Centurion. And Last but not the least, the fourth great leader is Bill, who is a former president, communications market, and chief marketing officer at Transaction Network Services. So let me hand over the stage to you, Ashish, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you, Nitin. Very excited to be here today and part of this moderating this panel with the great speakers lined up for us. Digital transformation in the telecom is a very, very interesting topic for all of us who have spent multiple years in telecom industry, and we have seen this telecom industry evolution from 2G to 3G to 4G, and now the 5G is ruling everywhere. There were legacy systems these telecom operators used to have, and now they are looking at how do we modernize the legacy platforms and systems. And then it comes the cloud, network cloud, which is also as part of 5G. Till 4G, the discussions were all around network, but with 5G coming in, the discussion is all around applications. It's all about monetization. It's all about enterprises, because 5G is touching each and every enterprises. And with the advent of 5G, every telecom operator has prioritized the digital transformation journey for themselves. The digital transformation journey they are looking at from the three pillars. One is customer experience. How do you provide omni-channel customer experience? How do you really provide the self-service options? How do you provide the better buying experience? And there are many things through which the customer experience has to be provided. The second is, being very large monolithic organizations, they are trying to invent themselves to be operationally efficient. So digital transformation is getting applied in the operational efficiency side, where you have a AI, ML, process of modernization and various things which are taking shape. And third, of course, is how do you drive new revenue channels? And we have a lot of speakers today who will be talking about how to generate the new revenue and how do we create the new revenue channels. And we at InfoVision are very proud to focus around these areas. And we are one of the very strong telecom heritage organization. With that, I'll start with my questions with the speakers, and I'll go to Manjula first. You are a CIO of Iridium and being part of the core digital transformation which you are driving. What are the different drivers? What are different imperatives, business imperatives you are seeing at Iridium and across? Would love to share your perspective.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you, AI Course, for having us here and talking about, I think, some of the topics that we feel very passionately about. So once again, thank you for moderating this. I think when you talk about digital transformation, right, the telecommunications industry is at an inflection point. And what I mean by that is, while telecommunication is one of the oldest industry that exists, has been very antiquated, very legacy-oriented type of a business. And now we're at a point where we are changing our journey and the path that we're taking to be much more advanced, much more modernized, and I think going towards a lot of data-based decision-making. And I think one of the key things as we go through digital transformation that's important and really critical is trying to understand the culture of your organization. So how you start is from an executive alignment. What I mean by that is when you think about digital transformation, the first question everybody asks is, are we going to be in cloud or on-prem? And when you start thinking about your cloud journey, you have to think about the financial aspect of an organization's culture as well. So you think about, because until you were on-prem, again, cloud journey has been going on for decades, right? I'm not going to say that going to cloud or AWS is the cloud journey, but most people don't see the server farm, even if it's on-prem. So most of the people, we have been in cloud while the server racks have been on-prem. But if you think about the big transformation is from the financial aspect. So when you think about the hardware, we were all CapEx, right? Capital expenditure. Now we're moving towards OpEx. I think that's a big culture imperative that people have to think through. I think the other piece is we have to get that executive buy-in to be able to say, hey, here's the path we're going to take. This is a company-wide decision, and then actually thinking about the cloud first journey. And it's really important because, in order for us to be able to utilize all the new technologies that exist, right? AI, ML, the data lake, data house, all of the different, buzzwords that industry is having today, you have to ask the question, are we going to be a cloud first organization? And when you think about that, there is a lot of different pieces, right? Most companies are implementing in cloud. They think about modernization as cloud. So I think that's the key imperative. And there's a lot of different strategic initiatives and things that go around it. I'm going to kind of not go too much into that just because I will take the next hour talking about it.
Sure. No, thank you very much. And I think you have covered a lot of good points, and especially around culture, right? How do you really build a digital transformation culture? And now we are talking about not only digital transformation, but how do we drive digital innovation? And how do we create that culture across the enterprise? And we will talk about more. I'll move to Bill. Bill, I know you have some perspective around some of the study BCG did, and in terms of how telecom companies have adopted digital transformation, and what are the challenges they have faced and why those challenges. So please share your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And again, I echo Manjula's comments. Thank you for putting this panel together and the invitation to be part of it. There's a few things when you look at telecom companies, as Manjula was even mentioning before. Telecom companies have some challenges today, right? They have challenges in terms of increasing costs. There's three major challenges. They have increasing costs. They have deeply entrenched legacy business models that are heavily network invested. And if you think about it, their business model is almost inflexible, which is digital transformation promises flexibility. And so that's not that anybody did anything wrong. That's the history of where telecom came from, is the increase, the deeply entrenched networks that they built to provide these services today. But now as they try to transform into the digital transformation and provide these new services and move to 5G, they have to take care of the costs that they have. They're also used to being in markets where they've had 70% market share in fixed and wireless line services. So their business models are a little bit inflexible because as you move to digital transformation, how do I justify that move? When's the right time to make those investments? The other challenges that telecom carriers have and the telecom industry has is regulatory obligations, right? There are obligations at the FCC because you're providing a service, a value of service, that you have an obligation to be able to deliver those 911 calls, those emergency calls. And so you have to take that in consideration when you move to transform those services. That reliability has to carry over. So you sort of appreciate network engineers being a little bit risk adverse because the telecom carrier network engineers have to worry about making sure that there is not an outage, and that's their biggest concern. And it's understandable that they need to achieve transformation, but they need to achieve it while still providing the same quality of service. And there's other challenges related to the path to moving into, like, for example, technologies such as 5G. Why is it lagging? Those are the challenges, but why is it lagging? I think Manjula picked up some of it as well, is that the reasons why the industry is lagging is one is the integrated strategy. A lot of the telecom companies and carriers need to get together. The vision is very important, that everybody's aligned to the vision and bought into the vision. And there's an integrated strategy of how to transform from legacy to the digital world. There needs to be a leadership commitment, number two. You really need to be committed and ride it all the way out. It's like getting on a roller coaster. Once you strap in, you can't get off. You go and you have to go all the way through. And that's the mentality that a business has to take. You have to have access to high quality talent, number three. And, I think it's important for people to understand that you've got really smart people in your business, but where your journey is headed, you may not have. And that's where you might want to lean into partners, or you're going to have to augment your talent a little bit as well. Four is you have to have an agile governance process, right? A lot of reasons why it's lagging is because companies don't have that agile, high, governance process. They have a process, but it needs to ebb and flow, and it needs to adapt very quickly. It has to be agile, not just in your development organization, agile across your entire decision-making process. 5, you have to have clear metrics. If you're on your journey, what are the metrics for success, right? What are you really looking for, and how are you going to measure your success against that? Have that defined up front. And so that keeps everybody on board. Again, in that roller coaster ride, they're going to stay for the end. And then lastly, number 6, the reasons why it's lagging is like we talked about, modern technology architecture. It's a challenge to move from legacy infrastructure, separate stacks, to a combined stack that integrates together as you move into 5G. And that's why you also see some telecom carriers, besides the big 3 or 4 in the US, struggling to move to 5G, is because of the fact that there's a major investment. They need some help there. So Ashish, I'll hand it over to you. That's some of the challenges.
No, the great points. And I think I'll give you an example. Recently, I switched my telecom carrier, and I received my first bill. And even, they have, and I will not name the carrier in this forum, but they say it will take 3 months for my bill to get corrected. But by the time I'll get the right bill. So, to all the points, how do you really bring the integrated approach in this digital transformation? Because everyone is driving the digital transformation in their own way. But someone is working on agile, someone is still on waterfall, but the front end retail is on the legacy. So there are so many different things which are getting driven. But great points, Bill. Thank you so much. So Matt, to you, I know your focus is around smart cities, and
Yes.
you have spent a lot of time in the smart city areas, and this is very interesting topic, especially with 5G. IoT is getting more and more prominent. I remember the days when we used to talk about M2M, machine to machine. Now it is all about IoT really getting. So what do you see? What are you seeing in the smart city area in space, and how technology is driving the adoption and other things?
Yeah, and like everyone else has mentioned before, thank you for having me here today. This is a really great opportunity and a great experience. The World Economic Forum released some numbers a couple of years ago talking about by 2050, the world's population will be at around 9.8 to 10 billion people. And of those people, 2/3 of them are going to live in urban areas. So cities over the next essentially 2 to 3 decades are going to be under immense pressure to figure out how to, deal with that capacity, how to create a good standard of living that's, consistent and equivalent to what it is today and improving from what it is today. And there's a number of challenges that, cities are going to face. The amount of real estate that they have isn't going to change. The infrastructure needs are only going to go up. So how do they deal with that? And, like everyone else has mentioned, 5G is a piece of that in improving the connectivity with cities. I'm finding that cities have 2 major areas where they want to improve. One is with infrastructure, which is things like intelligent lighting, air quality, water monitoring, those types of things. And then the other are more of the softer social equity components, where I think 5G is really going to be critical, which are things like bringing high-speed connectivity and internet access to the more underprivileged or the more economically disadvantaged neighborhoods and areas that don't have access to the internet like some other areas do. I will be the naysayer of 5G here to some degree. While it is a tremendously valuable tool, and telcos have seen over the last several years, last several decades even, their goal has been to increase bandwidth, increase the speed, the throughput, which is great for a number of IoT devices in cities. We're seeing a lot of camera-based systems going into place that have high bandwidth needs. But at the other end of the spectrum, a lot of the infrastructure components, related to mobility, curbside management, some of the V2X stuff, so the connected car components, even intelligent street lighting, a lot of those types of use cases don't really need high bandwidth. So deploying, some of these legacy systems that are really low bandwidth, low latency, low bandwidth, Things like LoRa networks are going to be critical to meet all of these needs as we move forward. I think that's the biggest challenge that a lot of these municipalities and telcos are facing is how do you resolve these two very, very different networks and their demands and needs and use cases with their existing infrastructure.
Yeah, no, I think great points. And one important thing which you mentioned about is, sometimes you don't need the bandwidth, right? You can run it on edge with the edge devices and give the real-time analytics of what is happening to the consumer, right? We have built some solutions at InfoVision where it is built on edge, while we can do it on cloud and 5G, but we can just run it up in the real-time analytics. Like one of the solution we have is on the cashierless autonomous retail store. You walk in, you don't need anything, just tap your card, go inside, pick up the things, come out, and you have a real-time bill coming to you the moment you check out from the store, right? So yeah, edge is becoming more and more important, and IoT will definitely get benefit from there. So moving to Ricardo, I know your area is also around IoT, and as Matt mentioned, it is becoming more and more with the connected devices and the projection which he shared. Almost 8-10 billion devices are going to get connected. While the adoption will increase, but where do you see the challenges in connecting with the legacy systems, and how do you pull the data and make these devices work with each other? So yeah, please share your thoughts.
Ashish, thank you so much for having me here. It's a big pleasure. And I think it's a very interesting question, because when you think about IoT, you cannot fall on the trap on thinking about only the greenfield, thinking about only the new devices that you are putting in the field, but also thinking in terms of the importance of connecting to the brownfield equipments and devices that are out there, not only from a hardware perspective, but also from a software perspective. Everybody that will perform IoT in large scale will certainly go through the challenge of collecting data from equipments that are in the field for the last 2, 5, 10, 20 years. Some of these devices, they don't even have an Ethernet port or any type of communication with this. And how can you add additional instrumentation to these devices and being able to collect the data from that? And I think that in this specific point, and I really like what you mentioned about edge, Ashish, is the importance of having a relevant edge strategy for you really to be able to collect all the data from these specific devices that you have in the field, transforming this data on the edge, applying machine learning, and after this is applied, pushing this data to the cloud and to other enterprise systems integration. That's something here in Tele that we really invest a lot of time and R&D in terms of being able to bring the legacy devices connected into a infrastructure that enables projects for smart cities, smart industries, smart transportations, really to be a difference and impactful for the existing services that are out there. Collecting data from these legacy devices involves the ability of doing protocol translation. Just in the industry, for example, for us to operate in the level that we are, and for you to have an idea, we currently support 8 out of the 10 largest car makers in the world. We had to develop more than 300 drivers to do the protocol translation, to collect the data from the different types of equipments that are out there. There are some initiatives in terms of creating a standardization in terms of machine connectivity, but this is in the infancy, and this will not solve like the legacies technologies that are out there. So my recommendation is to start thinking in terms of how you can look at the different types of devices, how you can aggregate them into an intelligent edge component, connecting this to the cloud, and after this, really bringing these initiatives that will drive digital transformation. Digital transformation starts with the pursuit of productivity, and that's the mindset that is important to be established.
Yeah. No, I think very, very, very important points. And I just want to add a couple of things here. One is definitely with so many devices coming in and I'll switch the gears in terms of the governance and how do you bring the process into. So one of the project which we did with one of the telecom operator, we created a marketplace. And because, when you are bringing the devices here, you have to create the marketplace because onboarding of those devices, the certification of those devices, how do you really track those devices, how do you provide the whole process and governance around those devices, because everyone and defining the standards for those devices, right? And then so there are definitely various things. So coming to taking the same point and whether it is cloud or IoT and things like that, there are two factors which play an important role, and Manjula, you talked about, and I want to come back to you on the governance and security, which are very, very critical, right? Because we can take that transformation journey, but how do you really where do you draw the standards and things like that? So, please share your thought process.
Yeah, I think let me start with the governance aspect of it, because I think that's a much simpler question to answer. When people talk about governance, they talk about, I need all these checks and balances and all these, all these checklists, all the, approval processes. I'm a strong proponent of governance without friction. And as you're thinking about, one of the key steps of modernization is automation. So as you're thinking about whether it's a cloud journey, whether it's on-prem modernization, whatever path you take, you have to keep thinking about frictionless governance. And what I mean by that is, well, I'll take an example, right? In our environment today, people want to go create all these sub-projects, et cetera, on the AWS cloud. So as they're doing that, right, we in order to control costs, we have to put all these approval processes in place. Well, I can do that through a automation process, and which is one of the journey that we're going through, is to build the environments for our teams to be able to do this through an automation process. So they open up a ticket, as long as all the information is there, the budget codes are there, we just go create it. So that's your governance without friction. And we're looking at, hey, how often are they going to use? So I can set up the environment without any kind of controls, manual controls in there. So I don't have to grow the team, and I also don't have to do the actual approval processes. The other piece of governance is, when you talk about the modernization or cloud journey or any kind of path, people think about, what's it going to do to my job? So I think that's the key piece. The role of the governance is also to make sure that people understand it's about upskilling. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to change out the people, get new people who understand the cloud journey. It's taking the existing team to help them get upskilled and be able to take you as an organization, just because they have so much institutional knowledge about the company that they can actually make the journey much faster. Most of the people who've been with the company the long term also know where the pitfalls are, and they can actually stop those pitfalls as you're making this cloud transformation. So that's, from a governance perspective. Now let me talk about security. The modernization effort doesn't mean that security is automatic. You actually can build a very insecure system and secure environment if you don't deliberately think about it. And that is one of the challenges of or obstacles that the telco industry is facing, right? Many of the companies are built on very old technology, and the cost is driven so low, right, that security becomes an afterthought, right? Everybody wants to go and add new features, new functionality, but security, it's not just the cloud first or modernized solution, but it's security first mindset. So every solution that you're coming up with needs to be thought through from a security perspective. And the security can be as simple as automation there as well, to say, here's the 10 things I need to do every time I'm trying to deploy some software or hardware. And being able to do that, many companies have built-in automation to be able to see, you know, how are my chipsets looking compared to, you know, what my previous set of chipsets were. So the security is extremely important because I can build a very bad set of software. So, you know, working with your law enforcement groups, working with FBI and other folks, they are very helpful to be able to help you from the regulation. The other piece that we're missing is a general guidance on the security and the regulations on the security. So, you know, we have to self-govern ourselves. So bringing all the telco industries together and actually identify the security risks and be able to put mitigation for that. So it needs to be a self-regulated industry to start with.
No, thank you. I think very, very great points. And taking the discussion, Bill, to you, you know, I know cloud computing is a big thing for telecom, and you have certain perspective around some examples and experience in this journey, which you would like to share with your colleagues and audiences today.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. From a perspective of, you know, I think Manjula has done a nice job too of laying out some of the trends has been going on for a while of everybody wanting to move to the cloud in telecom, and we all have to some degree. You talk about, okay, what are some of the key things that we've learned to share with people in terms of, you know, those that are on their journey is, I think, you know, it boils down to three things. There's more than that, but I'll just keep it really simple to three that I've learned is that one, you have to have the vision alignment. It's really critical that there's an alignment of what you're trying to achieve by moving to the cloud or taking some process. You know, when people talk about the cloud, it's not all or nothing. A lot of telecom companies have hybrid. So some elements are in the cloud and some are in their network on their prem that they've made the investments and they've hardened over the years. And they don't want to lose that. That goes back to the network engineers making sure that there's no outages. Hybrid's okay. It's not a bad word. It's still leveraging the benefits of the cloud for your business model, your needs, and the services you want to provide your customers. So having a vision alignment around, are you moving completely to the cloud? It's great for a startup company to go and start in the cloud. Good for you. But a lot of the carriers have legacy systems, and that's just not possible overnight. You got to take your time. So having a vision alignment, making sure what are you trying to do with the cloud? How is it going to augment your services? And hybrid is not a bad strategy. Second thing is know what you know and know what you don't know as you start moving things to the cloud. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, I don't have this talent on staff. We are really good at telecom. We are really good at running networks. We're not really good yet in putting some of these things in these public clouds like Azure and AWS and others. And so go and get the help. It's okay to bring in partners and have them help you build the solution out and recognize, leverage your talent, augment your talent with other companies that have that skill set. It's okay. And it's going to help you on the journey. It's going to help you get to where you need to go. And by the way, partnering might even help you with co-innovation, because as you have things that you're looking at and problems you're trying to solve, companies and partners that are coming in to help you that have that expertise may say, wait a second, there's a better way to do this. And together you guys co-innovate. So that's a fantastic thing to know. So know what you know and know what you don't know. And it's okay to ask for help. And then the last thing, third, is I would say, I'm just trying to simplify this, Ashish, but is expect and plan for delays. I know nobody wants to say that, but no, we run a tight ship and we're always on time. When you move to the cloud, even in a hybrid situation, there are business processes, there is complexity. You mentioned about the bill that you got as well, and it took 3 months to sort out. Okay, there's complexities, there's gremlins in all of our systems. And when you move to the cloud, some of those business processes to augment, you are going to have delays of, oh, didn't expect for that, forgot about that because that's been on our legacy network for so long. We fix that a different way. So you will have delays, build that into your plan. So you set expectations, keep people aligned to the vision, because when you have delays, people say, I'm not sure I want to stay on this ride. And you start losing commitment. But if you plan for the delays up front, you'll be better set going forward. So hopefully that helps a little bit, Ashish. Some lessons.
Great points. And I think do what you know, what you don't know. And asking for a help enables co-innovation. And that's the very, very key thing, right? Because you need to innovate. You cannot do the digital transformation on the same processes which you have built 10 years back. And that is where most of the people will try to put the band-aid in terms of bringing the better UI experience, better mobility app and things like that. But if you are not changing your whole process, it is not going to help, right? You are going to get the bright bill after 3 months because you are not changing the back-end process. You are only looking at what the retail experience you are going to provide better. So extremely important point. And we at InfoVision, I'll give an example. We work with our customers as an innovation partner. And what we do is we not only look at what the business problems in next 3 months we are going to solve, but we also look at a culture. How do we enable that culture? How do we start from the ideation? Because as you rightly said, you need a help. You need to get the people at the ideation stage so that they can bring in their cross-industry experience and then help you to do better. So great points. Matt, while you talked about smart city, how urban population is going to be driving it, but there are a lot of security concerns which would be there when we are deploying such a massive scale infrastructure. So, please share your thoughts with the audiences.
Yeah, IoT, especially in an urban environment, creates all sorts of new challenges for developing and building and deploying hardware. And then there's privacy concerns with it as well. I'll start with that since that's more of a hot topic and more relatable as we're seeing more vision-based systems being deployed. The one most people are familiar with is LPR, or license plate recognition. That's deployed, fairly readily, and in most municipalities and cities today. I think there are, a week or two can't go by without finding some story about a major hack or leak of data of personally identifiable information coming from camera-based systems in these cities. One of the biggest ones that happened, I think, last year was from the Department of Homeland Security at a border crossing where, tens of thousands of people's vehicles, license plates, and faces were leaked on the internet. And having these camera-based systems deployed at scale creates a huge challenge. So how do you protect people's privacy when there's hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of these cameras being deployed, or other devices that are collecting personally identifiable information? Is that information being scrubbed at the edge? There are a number of technologies out now where the edge device itself is doing the either facial blurring or removing personally identifiable information. How is the data encrypted from the device back to the servers? And then how is that information stored and collected, and what are the data retention policies? They're all kind of 3 or 4 separate verticals within the privacy sector, and they're all handled at different points. Some is handled with the physical development of the hardware. Some is handled, at the other end of the spectrum by municipalities and what's their data retention policies. How long are they required, or how long do they hold the information? Do they have policies in place? So that's one of the things that I help cities figure out and work with, is trying to develop those data retention policies, because most of them don't have use cases or have never experienced this or even thought about this type of scenario before in their policies and in their procedures that they have in place today. So putting those in place is a key component. From a technological standpoint and from a security standpoint, at my previous role, which was a company called Fiber, we developed one of the first wireless parking systems. So we actually deployed, they look like hockey pucks that we put in the ground in each parking space, and would deploy thousands of these in a city. How do you secure and make sure that your communications and your network remains secure when you're putting a device into the ground that someone could, go take a screwdriver and pry out and take apart and start playing around with? That's not just our use case. As cities begin to roll out more sensing technologies, how do they protect those devices when they're in the field and easily accessible by every citizen within the municipality or within the city. So those are, I think, some of the biggest challenges that cities are facing today. They're working themselves out. It's getting better every day, but it's still a challenge for every city as we move forward.
No, thank you so much. And, Ricardo, to you, I know Matt is talking about the challenges and the data and the privacy, but where do you see revenue coming from IoT? Where do you see the revenue growth, while we are talking about deployments and all, but who is going to pay? How do you see the companies are going to get money from these investments which they are making? And especially the MNOs, which are there. So please talk about it.
Oh, that's a great question, right? At the end of the day, technology, especially IoT, I like to say that exists for three things and three things only: for you to make money, for you to save money, or for you to stay out of jail. So you make sure that you stay compliant with the regulations of your industry. So, and that's important that we have in mind the business models behind IoT and how you can really monetize it. McKinsey has a very interesting study about IoT, and they say that 1/3 of the economic output of IoT comes from industrial applications. And that's by far the largest impact of IoT on how we will gain productivity in the industrial space by the adoption of IoT. And that's one of the fields that we see a significant growth out there. And I see the MNOs being more and more aggressive in terms of really approaching this market opportunity by creating end-to-end solutions. Currently, Telit is working with MNOs all around the world. We have partners here in the US with AT&T and Verizon, in Europe with Telecom Italia, Wind, Swisscom, in China with China Unicom, and so many others. And what I see as a common thing happening with these MNOs is they are looking at the technologies and creating packages and solutions for the diverse types of IoT applications that are possible out there. As for the vast majority of IoT applications, cellular connectivity is a must. They see themselves in a unique position to really aggregate different technologies from edge, sensoring, IT integration, and providing a full turnkey solution for their customers. With AT&T, we did a very large project in oil and gas, supplying the full turnkey solutions for a large oil and gas company that they had one specific challenge. That oil and gas company, they had sites for oil extraction, literally from Argentina to Alaska, as south and as north as you can go. Most of the engineers, they are located around Texas. And then you can imagine that during winter time, when you have a problem in Alaska, probably not many people want to go there to fix a problem in a certain specific pump that is extracting shale gas, for example. So how can you optimize this type of use case? What we could provide was the ability of creating a digital twin out of every single one of these pumps, PLCs, and devices on the trucks, collecting the heartbeat of this device, understanding with machine learning what is the normal behavior of that device, and predicting when that specific device is presenting anomalies and is about to break. And then with that, using the cellular network, enabling with a secure remote access for the engineer that now doesn't need to fly in a private flight to Alaska anymore, but he can fix the problem over the air. Or if it's still necessary to send somebody there on site, it's going to be an informed technician that will know everything that is happening with that specific machine and will be able to fix the problem much faster. So then you start to realize what is the economic impact of such a type of technology. Now I'm talking about not only expensive machines, but an extremely expensive process. How I optimize this process in terms of gaining more productivity, how I can reduce the travel time of these engineers and gain productivity of these engineering time of these engineering people with such a type of technology. In another space, also looking a little bit for the industrial side, we support many car makers, and Honda is one of the large customers we have. In just one facility that they have in Alabama, we're talking about 1,800 cars a day. This means that every minute has a cost of $30,000. If you can bring technology that will increase efficiencies of a production line like this, the impact will be major. For Honda, for example, we could generate 3,000 minutes of uptime with the adoption of IoT technology, what represents $90 million return on investment every year on the technology gains. So I see IoT going into the most diverse types of use cases that you can imagine, from smart transportation, smart cities, smart industries. And I am a big believer on all this, and especially on when we are talking about the more industrial type of IoT applications where it's involving productive processes. I see that one specific market for growth.
No, thank you so much. I think these are very, very important use cases. And when you talked about digital twin, it is definitely helping in solving many business problems today. And we are seeing a lot of companies are adopting to digital twin, and we have built digital twin for one of the telcos, where how do you look at your tower and look at when the failure is going to happen, what is the power problem, what is the other issues, even the signal strength. Where do you see this in this particular tower? Where do you see the signal strengths will be? And then accordingly you plan your thing. So great examples. And before, I think we have a lot of questions from the audiences, but before we go there, Bill, to you, I know you have a couple of good examples on the digital transformation in terms of with your previous company, how you really leveraged AI ML models in terms of providing the better user experience. So please share those examples.
Yeah, you bet. It's interesting because one of the problems, and I'll set it up this way, we all take making a phone call as almost like turn on a light switch. It should just happen and we should trust it. How do you evolve that? How do you drive digital transformation in just a regular phone call? Well, it started from a problem and it's leading to a challenge that is now turning into an opportunity. What do I mean by that? So the carriers today still have a problem. Everybody as consumers, we can all relate to this. Robocalls. We're getting telephone calls on our phone. And if they're not in your contact list on your mobile phone, then you're looking at it and saying, do I answer the number if it's not with a name? And you answer it and somebody's trying to scam you on, a Microsoft help desk or, a car warranty or something else. And so you stop answering your phone. Because if it's not in your contact list and I don't know that it's Ashish calling me, I may not answer it now because I don't trust who's on the other end of that call because I don't know who it is. It's likely a scam call. And oops, you just missed a very important call that could have been your kid just fell down in the school ground and is in the ambulance now, but you didn't answer it because you didn't know. So the telecom industry has a problem in trusting communications. Consumers like us have said, I'm not going to always answer the call that I always expected. It was just a call. I'm not going to answer it anymore because I think I could be a scammer on the other side, robocalling and scam. So how do they fix that? The FCC has gotten involved. We talked about before, there's a obligation for carriers also with the FCC to deliver through. And so how do we restore trust back in those communications so people can trust a phone call again and that the call that they're getting is really who they say they are? So there's a few things that have happened, which are really cool. And it's good for all of us to know as consumers as well. You have one, the FCC has rolled out a stir shaken topography, which is basically using tokens to initiate a digital signature. So when the call originates on a carrier's network and it terminates on a carrier's network, that token is exchanged and they validate that, yes, that is where it should be going from. That's still not the intent of the call, but at least they know who's originating the call and the terminating carrier knows that that token was passed through. And that's one way to thwart bad actors from using the system to call you up and try to defraud end users. You also have then the next layer, which is robocall protection, call protection services. That's using artificial intelligence and algorithms to be able to look at calling patterns. There's over from my former company, Transaction Network Services, had a market leading solution in call protection, built this scoring. So over 1 billion calls have been scored based on their calling patterns and accessing over 40 databases of numbers not in use, et cetera, and being able to score those numbers and say, okay, if the number is not in use, why am I seeing it come across the network trying to go from Verizon to AT&T? Let's block that call and not even let that happen because that number is not supposed to even be in use. So some of those are automatically blocked. Other ones that are in use but are being copied are coming through. We look at it and say, okay, based on the scoring of that telephone number, why is, for example, Matt's telephone number that usually does 10 calls a day, all of a sudden doing 1,000 in an hour? Something's wrong, okay? And because of the AI and the constant learning, you're saying that doesn't look right. Let's stop that call. Or when we pass it through to the network or to the end user, they have the option to know on the mobile app that they have, hey, danger, danger, Will Robinson. This may not be Matt calling you because it's looking a little odd, but we're delivering it just in case it could be your kid that fell in the parking lot. So what I've outlined there is a few things. One is problem. Two, how's the industry trying to solve it? With the stir shaken security using tokens, and then the layer of robocall protection services that companies, carriers are instituting in their networks. And so that's great. That's a transformation of starting to identify using AI and algorithms to start understanding, almost like your email antivirus, if you will, who's good or who's bad. But now you take and you transform that. What if? Now that we have a mobile app on people's phones that's helping you say it's good or bad or danger, danger, what if we can enrich that call? Okay, so if I know that it's coming from illustrative purposes only, Walgreens, if I know that call is originating from Walgreens, and I want to be able to get Bill Verson the answer to the phone, what if on the phone, when my phone rings, I look at the phone, there's a logo that says Walgreens, there's a check mark that says it's authenticated, it really is Walgreens, and here's a reason for the call. Would you like generic or brand subscription filled? Am I going to answer that call? Yeah, I am, because I did get a call in earlier, my prescription to get filled, and I've got to go and drive through and pick it up. Now I know the reason for the call. I know I trust that it's authenticated, and I see the logo that is really Walgreens. I pick up the phone. I say generic because I want to save a little dollars. It's all good. Drugs all work. And I say, go for it. I hang up the phone. Now there's a push that's going to come to me, and it's going to say, thank you for doing business with Walgreens, illustratively only. Here's directions to that Walgreens to pick up your prescription. Here, if you want to click a button to chat with one of our representatives, if you have other calls. And oh, by the way, if you come in instead of going through the drive-through when you pick up your prescription, it's 10% off any other products that you buy. What did we just accomplish in digital transformation there? You took something like the light switch, turning on the lights, a call that you just normally expect to happen, and you've enriched it with technology by restoring trust that it really is who they say they are. You've basically said, I'm going to give you better customer service for that enterprise, Walgreens, better customer service. So now when Bill Verson drives to Walgreens, it's not, I'm sorry, sir, you didn't tell us generic or brand, so we didn't fill your prescription. You're going to have to wait another 10 minutes. Instead, it's already ready for me. And now I'm thinking as a consumer, I'm going to go walk in and get milk and maybe some wine for dinner tonight at Walgreens. I know it's going to be high quality wine, but still, it's a good example. Walk it into the Walgreens now, and I've created a greater share of wallet because I've spent more at Walgreens than I normally would have. So who wins here? The carrier wins, because the carrier had provided an enriched, they've brought trust back into the communications, the regular phone call. They've enriched it by providing more services. They've enriched it for the enterprise to have a better relationship with the customer and to pick up better answer rates. We've done studies where with the carriers like Verizon, where we've improved the answer rate 40% in one customer's example, 40% answer rate increase because the name was presented to the customer. They knew who was calling them. So the win-win is the carriers providing a different service, an enriched experience that consumers, quite honestly, we should be expecting anyway. More information, the technology exists. Two, The enterprises win, the businesses win, because now that's a better engagement with their customers, maybe buying more services from you, but there's different ways to communicate: text, chat, phone again, and you're leveraging all of them together, providing loyalty. And then third, we as consumers win because it's a protected call now. We're more educated. We are more empowered to do what we want to do. And we might actually save some money or buy the services and goods we really want and save time all along. So that's a cool example of like digital transformation, of going and solving a problem, but using the transformation to be able to solve the problem, but enrich the experience. So it's sort of cool. And this is all coming and in process and market right now.
Yeah, no, that's very important. And also one is experience, but also improving the creating a more revenue channels and more business channels for enterprise and for as well as for the operator. And I'll just quickly share an example. We did leveraging AI/ML, how we improve the collection process for the telecom operators, where what is the time you should be calling and what type of profile you should be calling. So based on the different factors, how you improve your collection efficiencies, right? Because every call cost, and if you are calling and if you are not finding people are not picking up the call, which means that call is wasted and you are not able to collect your money. So we were able to improve almost 20-25% uptake for telecom operator by creating the AI/ML models in terms of how you structure your collection process. So yeah, various examples, but great ones, right? And I'll move on to quickly to the audience's questions, and I'll start with Manjula. How can telecom companies balance the need for innovation with the need to maintain legacy systems and infrastructure? I think it's a very interesting one. So yeah,
It's actually a very interesting question. I was looking at that, Ashish. So I think Bill said it right, having a vision. So first of all, it's okay to say we are not going to move everything to cloud, or we're not going to modernize everything, because there is some legacy infrastructure that is not very easy to replace and work through, because again, telco industry is so legacy oriented and antiquated, so to speak. Pardon my use of the word antiquated here, but it is something that we need to think about and have a vision for. There is also the other piece of it, right? And I stated this, where the cost per call is so low that, as we modernize, it's actually an investment. We are spending more for, if the call per cost goes up very much in terms of what it's costing you versus what it's costing the consumer. So one of the examples I'll give you here that we've looked at a mixture of both legacy as well as modernized is, we look, in the world of AWS, and again, I'm not advertising for AWS or anything, so take it for what it's worth. So they're not paying me for any of this, but there is something called Outpost. What that means is they take your legacy software and then they actually come and stand up a rack in your data center, which is maintained by Amazon Web Services team or Amazon, but it's actually almost legacy hardware that you're migrating to. So on the flip side, when you're thinking about spending, most of your legacy systems that are towards the end of your depreciation value of your hardware, that is a good time for you to migrate into this Outpost type of a scenario. So you take the legacy systems and then you go, you know what, I'm going to work with Outpost and actually take the data and put it. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is just to start with disaster recovery, right? Leave everything primary that exists in your current data center, current environment, move your disaster recovery into the Outpost. One, you prove the technology, because it is a cloud technology. It is on a modernized, newer set of hardware. You prove it to say, you know what, my system works on the newer technology. Once you get through that piece of it, then you can say, well, if my DR works on it, why can't I make that primary? And then your on-site becomes DR. So that's, I think, one way of balancing the cost without, initially. And the other piece is, which ones of your existing technology are you going to re-architect is going to be very critical for you to think, or you're going to take it as is and move it into this type of a hybrid solution. Because if you go to cloud, without using the cloud features like microservices and all of that, you're not gaining any cost savings, right? You actually end up spending a lot more if you take your existing software and just migrate it to cloud. So you have to re-architect it to be able to utilize the cost savings feature. So that's one way of looking at it. The other piece to look at is, which of my systems need more security enhancements, and maybe taking those, re-architecting those, and then moving them to cloud is the other way to balance some of these expenditures.
Yeah. No, great points. I think very, very good points. And if anyone, a speaker, has any point to add here, otherwise I'll move to the next question, considering the time which we have left here. Yeah, please go ahead, Bill.
I do real quick. I mean, just to build off of that really fast, I think, in telecom companies balance the need for innovation. I think part of it they've already done. If you think about what Matt and Ricardo were even talking about with IoT, telecom companies had to move to 5G. And again, the promise of 5G with faster speeds and the ability to do more things. But what they did is they took their 3G and 4G networks and said, let's leave that for IoT and move some of the faster things to 5G. Some of the things like a meter on the side of your house to take the water is a burst technology. You don't need real-time streaming all the time for your water meter. So why not use the 4G, 3G network, burst it over, and leave the 5G bandwidth for the more enhanced real-time live streaming internet stuff. So I want to applaud the telecom industry has already started to do some of that just by their spectrum efficiency and understanding IoT burst use versus real-time. I think the other thing is how they can balance it is, again, going back to the partnerships. I think when you have this legacy system that you have to maintain, it's okay to say it wasn't built here. Go and partner with some people that are driving innovation and co-innovate with them, or leverage their innovations and then integrate them into your platform. Going from stacks like the Ericsson, Nokia core infrastructure, and now moving that into a software layer as a communication as a service layer, you can transform your 3G, 4G services into a 5G communications application layer instead of a stack. And those companies still provide those services, by the way. So that's not meant to be derogatory to those companies. It just means partner. That's how you can move. Still manage your legacy, move at the pace that you want to, but it doesn't stop innovation. Leverage your partners to innovate with you. Just reminding you of that.
No, that's good. And Matt and Ricardo, you have any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, just to add to what was previously said, almost every telco has a business model in place of let's sell more SIMs, let's put more SIMs into devices, and like Bill just mentioned, every device doesn't need constant connectivity. Those meters on the side of your house, or if you're doing air quality monitoring or intelligent lighting and putting a connected device into a street light, those talk maybe once or twice a day, 3 times a day. So, figuring out how to kind of reframe and realign your business model and your mindset to think from, let's put a cellular, a SIM card and a cell chip in every device, to how do we best connect to those devices and put a network and infrastructure in place that can talk to the devices in the way they need, and that's the most efficient, is a radical paradigm shift for most telcos. And most of them are understanding that now and starting to embrace that and adopt the technologies to do that. But that's a significant shift. And when you're talking about moving an entire organization like an Orange or a Verizon or an AT&T to think differently, that is that takes time and is a big ship to turn.
Yeah. Ricardo, any thoughts you have?
Yeah, this intelligence on the edge in terms of optimizing the application is certainly critical. And I think that the MNOs, they do have more and more the understanding in terms of how this optimization can happen. Just speeding all the data up using the network is certainly not the right strategy. And you need to really adopt the right type of technology to optimize data consumption, data flow, cloud consumption, because also the cloud has a cost. You don't want just to dump every single trash of data that you have there. That's not going to make your applications more efficient. So understanding what is the right pace of communications that you need to adopt, the right type of technology. There are many out there, not only 4G, but or 5G, but the NB-IoT, Cat1, Cat-M. So all the different variations in terms of the cellular technology to enable you, as well as the aggregation with LPWA types of technologies for short-range radios integrated with cellular networks and private networks as well. So the ecosystem of technologies out there, they became more and more diverse, what is great because it really can enable more applications, letting the operators to be more aggressive in terms of the pursuit of these opportunities.
No, I think great points. And I know we have 9 minutes left here. I'll move to the next question. I know a lot of these points are already covered, but we can summarize in a better way so that our audiences get their answers. What challenges and obstacles do telecom companies face when trying to implement a digital transformation strategy? And Matt, we will start with you on this.
Sorry, I just had to unmute. As I mentioned before, I think changing mindset within the organization is one of the biggest challenges that most companies face. And then getting buy-in within the organization beyond just the few visionaries that want to, that have the vision and have the idea and actually want to make the change. That's the biggest challenge. And then just size and scale of organizations. Those are, I think, some of the biggest challenges.
Sure. Ricardo?
Well, digital transformation can mean different things depending on how you are looking at this question, right? All these MNOs, they are primarily technology companies. So when they look at this digital transformation, they can see this two ways: inside the company, so how the technology can help me to be more efficient, provide better services to my customers in a more cost-effective way. And the other one could also mean in terms of how do I create solutions to the market to embrace this new world of connected devices. And I would say that the second is definitely the most challenging one for the MNOs, because this goes through a major transformation in terms of the core business of these companies. MNOs, they are in the commodity business today. If you think in terms of a traditional MNO, that just think in terms of putting another SIM card and selling another data package or another voice package, this is identical from one operator to the other operator. When you are thinking in terms of the digital transformation, this goes through transforming also the way that you approach the business opportunities by offering solutions to your customers. And that might be very challenging for the operator. So finding the right partner is fundamental. Finding a partner that understands the technology, telecom, but also IT and OT technology will enable these MNOs to have a more comprehensive product portfolio to address these opportunities. What is also challenging about IoT is that typically there's not one size fits all. All the projects, they are different from each other and they require a significant level of customization, and you need to be prepared on customizing this in a low-code environment that reduces the total cost of ownership for you to create these customizations. So these are, I would say, the biggest challenge for them. Some of these operators, they are more advanced than others, but I see a very clear trend of all these operators really moving into this direction.
Great points. And I think one other point which you talked about, low code, no code, and Manjula, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And you can take it an enterprise view rather than telecom view, which will be good for everyone to know.
anytime you're trying to change anything, it's a change management problem, right? It's truly a change management and change culture problem. So that's the enterprise view. How do I manage the change? How do I communicate the change? And how do I get the buy-in for the change that I'm about to make? And I think those are the three key aspects of anything. It changes your internal culture, how you do business, like Matt shared, like Ricardo shared, and how your go-to-market, what your go-to-market strategy is for any of these. I think we've always had a pseudo no code or low code where when you've gone to managed services, where your team has not developed, but somebody else develops it for you. I think that, I can, say that that's a low code, no code type of a solution for me internally. But I think, if there is definitely software and features that I can implement that allow me to do that. And the other challenge is, from an enterprise view, and I take a security view of it, is data privacy. I love what Bill had talked about, the Walgreens and being able to do, but it actually is it's a data privacy challenge there that you, as you're going to a digital transformation, you're going to manage. And no matter, so trying to implement tools that are been time tested, AI ML tools that you can implement, low code, no code, that is self-teaching and still able to achieve the business solution with keeping the data privacy in mind, is going to be very critical.
Thank you so much, Matt. No, I think, sorry, Bill, your views on this, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would echo what the other panelists have shared, and I would probably add, to addition, you have, deeply entrenched, some of the challenges are you have deeply entrenched, again, processes, infrastructure in place. I think the key thing is where I would add to it is what's some of the challenge, the obstacles is prioritization, right? It really boils down to prioritization as well. There's a lot of things a lot of opportunities the panelists have all shared in terms of driving digital transformation. What are the priorities of that operator that they want to take on? Is it a cost savings? Is it a revenue creation? Is it an efficiency? Is it a quality of service? Where do they want to prioritize first their journey? And then it's about then getting behind that and all the things that we've talked about in terms of having a commitment, having a governance process. Some of the things like Manjula was just talking about is security. That's another thing. When you start using customers' data, you have to worry about GDPR, CP&I, and all that stuff, and then normalizing or aggregating the data to still provide a level of service, but anonymizing it so you're not breaking your end user license agreement that you have with your subscriber or your customer. So you have a whole data governance that you have to take into consideration as well, and it takes time. And we know that carriers have a big services that have been in market for a long time. It's like a battleship. It takes a long time to turn that battleship come around. So prioritization is probably the best thing, is to make sure that what are they trying to do first? Decide as an organization, is it revenue creation? Is it cost savings? Is it efficiencies? Then the candidate of projects, prioritize those, and then maniacally go and manage and be committed to executing against those.
Sure. No,
just one thing I'd like to add,
yeah, please
really quickly to that, as well as, particularly in the public sector where I spend most of my time, is, digital transformation as a whole is something that they do not understand. They know they need to change and evolve, but they don't understand the technologies. They don't understand the landscape. And, quite frankly, they just don't understand what they can do to make a change within their organization, within their city. So a lot of what we have to do is education and mentorship of them. And, there's a lot of hand holding. I don't like that term because it's a little demeaning, but we do need to do a lot of education with the customer, which then creates this other scenario, which is it extends the time frame of the actual purchase cycle with the customer, which is another challenge for telcos as well. If your sell cycle goes from a 3-month, 6-month deal close time to a 16-month deal close time, that's a huge challenge for any business.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. And I think we are on top of the hour. And Nitin, I'll hand it over to you. But before that, I want to thank each and every speaker for the great insights. It was really privilege hosting you guys today, and thank you so much. Nitin, over to you.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you all the speakers. I think it was a very, very lovely and great discussion. So just to wrap up, we extend our gratitude to the entire community partners, all the esteemed speakers, and the attendees who participated in this forum, which provided a platform for knowledge enrichment. Our panel speakers were exceptional, and we appreciate their willingness to come together and share their valuable insights. Further, if you missed or felt that you missed something and wish to look back at this session, let me tell you that today's event was broadcasted on the YouTube page of our company. So you all can go see the recording anytime. And if you're looking out for some recent technological updates and advancements, log on to our website and social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcement of the next events, and much more, which will help you register and attend the same. Before we pull the curtains on, and we'd like to thank a couple of great partners, Infovision, which is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, which is our technology partner. To understand more in depth and connect with them, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and stay abreast with the technological advancements. Further, there are a lot more in store for this year with a focus on multi-industries like banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, and so on. So I request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. It was a pleasure bringing this session to you, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to having more sessions with you. Take care and have a lovely and great day ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.